He clutched the edge of the cracked sidewalk, every inch of his small frame trembling against the morning chill. The light was dim, the sun still hiding beyond the horizon, but he knew that day would change everything. Pain was all he'd ever known. At 6 years old, his legs had ceased to obey his will. He remembered laughter from a time before the accident, when running meant freedom, when kicking a ball brought a grin to his mother's face. Now, the asphalt beneath him was cold and indifferent, and he waited for a miracle that never seemed to come. A sleek black car rolled into view, its engine purring like a contented beast. The driver's door opened, and a tall man in a crisp suit stepped out. His shoes made no sound as he approached the boy. Everything about him spoke of wealth. His tailored jacket, the gold watch resting on his wrist, the scent of expensive cologne that whispered through the air. The boy's eyes widened. He'd seen men like this in magazines, but they never stopped for someone like him. The stranger knelt, ignoring the looks from passers-by. "Morning," he said, voice warm but authoritative. "What happened to you?" The boy blinked, confusion mingling with hope. I can't." His voice cracked. "I can't walk anymore. I see." The millionaire tapped his chin thoughtfully. "And no doctor can fix it?" The boy shook his head. "They say the injuries are too deep. My family can't afford to try again." A silence fell. Cars rushed past, oblivious. Above, the sun began to peek over the buildings, bathing them in pale gold. The millionaire's gaze never wavered. "What? Would you give to walk again?" The boy frowned. "What do you mean?" "I have the means to heal you," the man said quietly. "But in return?" "In return?" The boy's voice was small. "In return, you must repay me once you're able," the millionaire said, rising. "When you have food, you'll bring me leftovers." The boy laughed, a brittle sound. "Leftovers? Why would I do that?" "Because." The man replied, pulling out a luxury smartphone and dialing, "I'm hungry." He pressed the phone to his ear, and a voice answered, "Bring me everything that's left at the end of the night. I want to taste the world through what's been forgotten." The boy stared, mouth agape. This wasn't a joke, he realized that now. Wealth could buy miracles, he'd heard, but at what cost? The millionaire beckoned him closer, laid a hand on his shoulder. "You'll walk again," he promised. "But you'll remember where your meal came from." The next day, the boy awoke in a hospital bed he didn't recognize. The sheets smelled of antiseptic and jasmine. He blinked and saw the millionaire standing beside him, looking down with satisfaction. "Welcome back," the man said, gesturing to the legs beneath the blanket. "Move them." With trembling resolve, the boy swung his legs over the side. Pain stabbed through him, but muscle responded. He took a shaky step, then another. Tears blurred his vision as he stood unaided for. The first time in months. The billionaire smiled. "Good. Now, do you remember our agreement?" The boy swallowed. "Leftovers? Promise me." He nodded, voice tight. "I promise." Weeks later, the boy's mother wept as she watched him stride down the crowded streets, braces on his legs. Neighbors stared, mouths agape, as if a ghost had returned to life. The millionaire trailed behind, arms folded, observing satisfaction in his eyes. That night, they arrived at a high-end restaurant where the doors whispered open at the millionaire's approach. Waiters bowed, led them to a private room. A feast awaited, roast duck glistening under candelabras, towers of caviar canapes, chocolate soufflé rising like a monument. The boy's stomach growled, but he remembered his promise. Before the first course, the millionaire rapped on a crystal glass. "Silence. Enjoy," he said, smiling. "But remember, only what's left." They ate. Laughter fluttered in the air like sparrows. The boy savored each bite, but left clean plates. He'd never eaten so well, yet he found himself watching the leftovers. The waiters gathered crusts of bread, a smear of sauce, the last grapes skewered on silver forks dot at the back door. The boy and the man loaded dog food bins with scraps. The boy's stomach twisted at the irony. All that luxury reduced to scraps for animals. The billionaire watched as the boy dropped each piece with solemn respect. When they finished, the boy asked, voice barely above a whisper, "Is that all?" The millionaire nodded. "For now." Months passed. The boy grew stronger. His gratitude deepened, tinged with unease. The millionaire's cryptic promise loomed over him. Repay me with leftovers. What did that mean for a life restored? The boy resolved to find out. One evening, a man led him to a warehouse on the edge of town. Inside, rows of industrial freezers stood like sentinels. The boy stared at hundreds of labeled containers. The millionaire unlocked a door and pushed him inside. The air was bitter cold. "This," the man said, "is where we store the world's surplus?" The boy's breath plumed in white clouds as he examined the crates. Excess from hospitals, expired medicines, forgotten formulas. He realized the deal was more than scraps from dinner. It was the world's cast-offs. A millionaire's philanthropic enterprise thrived on waste. He'd healed the boy, but the lessons ran deeper. Nothing should go unused. Your turn. The millionaire said, "Organize this." The boy blinked. "Me? I'm just a kid." "You're no longer a boy," the man corrected. "You're my partner." So the boy set to work. He sorted medicines about to expire into a clinic that served the poor. He diverted food to shelters. He watched the millionaire's empire of leftovers transform into hope. But power has its shadows. Rival tycoons learned of the operation. They sought to seize the warehouses, to claim the value wasted. One night, sirens wailed. Armed men stormed in, brandishing guns and warrants. The boy and the billionaire stood back to back, adrenaline surging taut in the chaos. A firefight erupted. The boy felt fear like a tidal wave, but something inside him snapped. He'd been powerless once, not again. He grabbed a crate and swung it, sending a man sprawling. He ducked behind columns of frozen goods as bullets chipped the concrete. The billionaire pressed a button on his watch. Reinforcements poured in security in black uniforms. The gunmen fled. Silence blanketed the warehouse. Dust settled. The billionaire placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. "You were brave," he said. "I'm proud." The boy nodded, chest heaving. He had repaid the millionaire in courage, in loyalty, in honor. But what of leftovers? In the dawn light, they surveyed the damage. Men in suits and badges took statements. Firefighters checked for hazards. The boy knelt beside a shattered crate of food, its contents strewn like fallen soldiers. He thought of the starving children who would never taste that bounty. He rose and faced the billionaire. All of it, every last bit, let it go. The man arched an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "Use your wealth to heal the world." The boy said, voice strong. "Not just scraps, but full measures. No more leftovers." A long silence. Then the billionaire laughed, a sound like breaking chains. "You drive a hard bargain." They shook on it. From that day forward, every resource would be used to its fullest, healing the sick, feeding the hungry, educating the ignorant. No more scraps, no more waste. Years later, the boy, now a man, stood by the same sidewalk where they first met. A child lay there, tears on his cheeks, legs weakened by fate. The man knelt, extending a hand. "Morning," he said, not the child looked. Up, confusion and hope mingling in his eyes. "What happened to you?" He paused, remembering a promise. He smiled. "I can help you. But first, are you ready to change the world?" The child nodded, and together they walked into a new dawn. No leftovers, only possibilities.